Hey, what's up, Nerdgasm fans? Jerry here, aka Barnacles, and I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube lately talking about PS4 versus Xbox One, PC versus console, PC Master Race, blah blah blah. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, including me. So I'm going to give you mine right now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to get started first and foremost to say that I own all of the consoles and I use them. I have a Wii U here, I have my PlayStation 4, and I have my Xbox One right here. And I use all of these systems, including my giant gaming PC here with three 46-inch monitors and the 1440p monitor up above. I use all this stuff. I love technology. Now, the one thing that I've been seeing a lot is in these videos that are posted, kind of comparing these. You've got the PS4 versus Xbox One. You've got the PC versus console. You've got all these videos out there, and I open them up, and they all seem to have one common theme that I'm seeing for the most part, and that is the person's just supporting what they play on without even knowing what the other stuff is. Like, for instance, I see a lot of guys that do PC gaming exclusively. They don't do anything on console. And they'll do a PS4 versus Xbox One and then just end with, well, PC Master Race. I'm talking to you, Avid. You know who you are. And you got some other people that come out and say, Xbox One versus PS4. Well, PS4 wins because it's got better specs. Or Xbox One wins because it's got one game or it's got to connect. Or PC wins because it's uber powerful, infinitely upgradable, and automatically just reigns supreme over everything else. Well, I'm going to be the first to tell you that that's all bullshit. Alright, this is a hard topic to kind of get started into, but let's go ahead and just get the PC out of the way, okay? The PC is the elephant in the room. That seems to be what most people in these videos are saying. You should get a PC because a PC is upgradable. You can always put new components into it. You can always just keep upgrading it. Well, if you want the latest and greatest graphics card, it's going to cost you more than any one of these consoles retail. You can buy a $200 or $300 graphics card, but let's be honest, if you want a graphics card that's really going to push the game to its extreme and make it just flawlessly smooth, you're going to be spending $500, $600, $700, maybe even $1,000. That's not very realistic. So, from a price point perspective, PC's out. And I don't care about AMD, APUs, and all this stuff. Yeah, you can get stuff that runs the games pretty good and makes them look pretty good, but you're not going to compete with the full graphics processing capability of a PS4 and Xbox One dollar for dollar. You're just not. Now, as far as the Wii U, I just kind of threw him in the stack because I had him. I'm going to be honest, I think Nintendo kind of flopped on that. But it still has its own merits also. Things to consider with PC. You're not playing on a level playing field. When you're playing online with other players, you're playing against guys that have completely different hardware. You could be playing against a guy that has 3 monitors running at 144 hertz. You could be playing against some guy that has smaller monitors or bigger monitors like these ones. You could be playing with guys that have track IR sensors on their head doing point of view depending on the game. The hardware diversity is huge, which is great for gamers. It's absolutely fun, but it doesn't make it a level playing field. If I'm sitting here playing on my PC with my Xbox controller plugged into it, and some other guy on the end's playing with his, Razer mouse and custom mouse pad and custom keyboard and 3 46-inch monitors running at 144 hertz, or his Oculus Rift or whatever, yeah, that's awesome for him, but that gives him an unfair advantage. Also, hacking is a way bigger problem on PC, because in order to hack a console, you basically have to download the ROM from the DVD, modify it, chip or JTAG your console to be able to accept a pirated CD, put it in, load it, and then hope that Xbox Live doesn't eject you from the system as soon as it finds out nothing meets checksum. On PC, you can pretty much just crack open any file, edit it, or apply a patch, or tweak and mess with it, and largely get away with it. Now, there are services like Punkbuster, but there's already been stuff shown that those can be easily manipulated. So overall, you're going to have a higher rate of finding cheaters and hackers on PC than you are on console. Now, just to be fair to everybody, I am primarily a PC gamer. I spend more time gaming on the PC than I do on console. But I do love consoles, and I'm going to tell you why. This is the side that people seem to keep ignoring, is when I want to go lay in my bed and just break out a controller, just pick up a controller and just kick back and play a game, and not have to deal with driver problems, not have to deal with micro stutter, not have to deal with crashing, not having to deal with tweaking settings and stuff to get the graphics to look right and get rid of glitches, I go to console. Because I pick it up, I push a button, and I play. And that's all there is to it. If I want to play with my friends and they're online, I push 2 more buttons, boom, I'm in a game with them. With PC, it's never that easy. I don't care who you are. It takes hours and hours to get your drivers figured out. You install a driver, it's got some glitch, or it has some graphical hanger, it crashes Battlefield, or it crashes COD, and you have to revert back to the old drivers, depending on your motherboard chipset and your BIOS, and there's tons of hardware diversity, which means there's compatibility problems. the odds of you being able to build a computer that's perfectly outfitted with all the components where Windows is happy, the drivers are happy, and all your games are happy is pretty nil. And if you are lucky enough to have that configuration, you better camp on it and hope it never breaks down, because that is a rarity. Overall, PC gives you a better gaming experience. Like me, I have three 46-inch monitors here. I can play iRacing, I can play simulators, I can play Battlefield 4. I've got this huge wide field of view. In theory, you can have higher resolution if you have 1440p or 4K displays. You can crank them up and, I mean, literally snipe pixels from 2.5 miles away downrange. It's an awesome experience, but it's a different experience. People need to stop comparing PC to console. Yes, they are getting closer together in terms of hardware specs and architecture and things like that, but the honest to God truth is, consoles are designed to do one thing. They're designed to play games. All the hardware is the same. All the graphics APIs, everything is the same across everything, which means the Xbox I'm playing on is no faster or no slower than the Xbox you're playing on. The PlayStation 4 I'm playing on is no faster or slower than the one you're playing on. Both of them have the same resolution capabilities. Both of them have the same controller. Now, you might be able to get third-party controllers and stuff like that, but the control itself is still the same across all of them. There's no software layer involved between your controller and your game to do stuff like macroing and rapid fire and things of that nature. So all things considered, consoles are great when you want to just sit down and just kick back and have a good time. And not have to deal with driver problems, not have to deal with crashing. It's very rare for a console to crash. And it just makes a really, really pleasant experience. Me, for instance, if you've seen my man cave tour of the bedroom that I have in my house, I have a 92-inch SI Black Diamond screen with a really nice Epson Powerlight projector. And I love to just kick back, throw some pillows behind my back, pull up my controller and set it on a pillow, or my cat if it's in my lap, and just play for hours. And it's fun and it's easy. When I want to play on the computer, I have to come up here, I got to boot up Windows, I got to open the game. The game's going to crash, have some punk buster problem, have some networking problem. I'm going to have to go figure it out, look in a forum, fix everything up, finally get it running perfectly. And then once it's running perfectly, then yeah, it's a moot point. But I can tell you right now, I have never once just turned on my computer, double-clicked a game, joined a party, got my friends in, and started playing without some kind of problem. But that's the nature of computers. They're infinitely configurable. You can literally tweak and tune everything about them. It's a very, very personalized experience. Consoles are not. So, I want to separate PC completely out from consoles. I want to say right now, do not even compare the two. Yeah, you can get some of the games that run on PC and run on console. They might look better on PC. If you have a $500 or $600 graphics card and another $1,000 into your computer build, sure, yeah, that's to be expected. But you're not going to build a $500 computer that's going to compete with the graphics capabilities of a PS4 and Xbox One. You're not. You're just not. At least not right now. Maybe in 10 years if you're watching this video, you probably build something that competes with these for like $10 at a garage sale. But that's not what we're talking about. Alright, so now we got PC out of the way. So let's look at the consoles independently now, right? Which console should you buy? A Wii U, a PlayStation 4, or an Xbox One? Well, the thing I can tell you right off the bat is the Wii U, he's an oddball. If you have young kids and they like the novelty of having a controller that's the size, twice the size of a Nexus 7 tablet, and they like to be able to draw and do stuff like that, then yeah, I mean, the novelty of it's pretty cool. It's the cheapest of the three consoles, and there are some good games for it, but the graphics just aren't good. Nintendo really didn't go after graphics. They were trying to go after an experience. And to be honest, it never really pulled me in. I'm not a big fan of Wii U. I've played it a couple of times, and it just doesn't pull me in because there's just too many little gimmicks that you don't really care about. Now, again, that's just my opinion. You might have some kids that absolutely love this. And there's some games you can only get on Wii U, like some of the Mario games and stuff like that I would literally buy the Wii U just to have that game. That's it. Because that's the only way to play it. And that makes a really solid point. When people say you should buy an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, the thing is there's exclusive titles between them. I love Uncharted. I love Metal Gear Solid. So of course I need a PlayStation 4. If I'm ever going to play any of the Sony exclusive games, I'm going to need a PS4. They're just simply not going to come to Xbox. So yes, I do need a PS4. Same thing goes for Xbox One. Forza 5. Absolutely amazing. I can tell you right now, out of all the racing games I play, including iRacing, Assetto Corsa on the PC, all those, don't get me wrong, I love those games, but when I just want to kick back and just race and not have to deal with a bunch of configuration and moving stuff around and set up, Forza is my go-to game, and I love it. Even more than Gran Turismo, and I used to love Gran Turismo, but let's not get into that. After Gran Turismo 5, they flushed that one down the toilet. It's just not even worth playing anymore, in my opinion. But back to the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One. I see all these arguments going back and forth. PlayStation 4 has better hardware specs. Yes, PlayStation 4 does have better hardware specs, but you know what? That means precisely dick, and I'll tell you why. Because the PlayStation 3 had infinitely better specs than the freaking the Xbox 360. And look how that went. I own both a PlayStation 3 and an Xbox 360, and I will tell you, I maybe turned the PlayStation on once every 2 or 3 months when an Uncharted game came out or something like that. I would never choose to play a title on PlayStation 3 over Xbox 360 because of the Xbox Live experience. It was so much easier for me to get on, find my friends, play online, send messages, receive messages than it was on PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 menu system was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And so the only games I really played on it were single-player games. And on Xbox 360, I had over 100 friends. On PlayStation Network, I had like 3. So hardware specs don't mean a lot. What's important is how easy the console is to develop for. Now, Microsoft, being a company that develops operating systems and everything, they know how to build an API. They build a really solid API that's very easy to program, very portable, and very close to what the Windows version is. So it's very easy to port games from the computer to their consoles, like the Xbox 360 and the new Xbox One. PlayStation didn't really do that with PlayStation 3. They had a cell processor. It was really, really good at multi-threaded stuff, but gaming just in general isn't very good with multi-thread. I mean, the whole world loop and concept of game development, you can have multiple threads, but they're not as beneficial as you'd think. So a lot of developers had to really, really shift how they were developing for the PlayStation, and to port games to the PlayStation were a lot more difficult. Now, with the PlayStation 4, I don't think that's the fact. I think the PlayStation 4 has kind of leveled that playing field, and now it's pretty easy to develop for also. Now, I think that's going to be huge in that the games that we see come out for them. But again, the graphics are so phenomenal on both consoles. Like, if you play Forza 5 and you see a game that truly utilizes the capability of the console, it's going to blow your mind. You're not going to see a whole lot of difference between PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, because what it comes down to at the end of the day is how tight the code is and how much of the hardware it's utilizing. Because on PlayStation 4, if you write a game and it doesn't utilize all of PlayStation 4's proprietary graphics API and all that stuff to squeeze every last ounce of performance, you're not going to see that super frame rate, and you're not going to see better graphics than the Xbox One. And the opposite's true also. It just depends on which platform was the game developed for originally and which one was it ported to. Another thing I'd like to point out is my personal preference is the Xbox One has a phenomenal menu. I love the menu. I love that you can actually snap things next to each other, so I can have my game up and I can be watching Netflix on the side of the screen, like picture in picture, while I'm playing my video game. I love that I can actually have my Twitter feed up while I'm actually playing. It's really cool that it allows you to actually multitask, and it feels more like a real operating system. Now, I haven't used any of the TV functions yet. I really haven't. But the voice stuff, I really like. I like the fact that I can just tell my Xbox to turn on, turn off. I can tell my Xbox to open a program. I can tell it to navigate to a URL. And it works pretty good most of the time. And that's a really cool thing. And the Kinect sensor is much better now on the Xbox One. It's very, like in Battlefield, you can enable lean tracking, and I can literally just sit Indian style on my bed and do this. And my guy will lean around corners in the game, and it's actually a very, very smooth experience. So the Kinect is much better at tracking now. But now you go to the PlayStation 4, and you've got some, their proprietary stuff, which is now you have a speaker in the controller, which personally I absolutely can't stand, and I'll tell you why. Because I was laying in bed the other night when I was playing Killzone Shadowfall, and I had my headphones on because my wife was sleeping and my kid was sleeping, and I go pick up a damn note, and it's like, hey, I picked up a note. Check out this note over here, guys. My wife wakes up. My kid wakes up. It's like, why the hell didn't you play that through the headphones? Now, granted, I could probably go into the configuration and say that I want it to play through the speakers. But the default configuration, it just bit me right there. And it catches you off guard. And honestly, it doesn't sound that good. The speaker is very, very, kind of like tinny and metallic. It just doesn't sound very good. The light on the front of the controller, changing and doing stuff, not really a big thing for me. I didn't like that either. I do like the touchpad, though. And Killzone, I liked how they utilized the touchpad as a way to quickly switch between items. But again, you're not going to see the touchpad utilized very well in games that are cross-platform, because the developer has to do a lot of work to implement the custom functionality of that. And Killzone, since it was designed for the PlayStation 4, I think had a really cool implementation of it, and it was very solid. But I honestly don't think we're going to see a lot of really smooth, good implementations. And plus, it's very easy to make a mistake. I make a mistake all the time in Killzone and die because I go to switch to something and the touchpad just doesn't register right. It's just the nature of touchpads. The controller overall is a lot more comfortable than the PlayStation 3 controller. The triggers, I'm not too fond of after using them for a while. But otherwise, it's a very, very comfortable controller. It's lightweight, it's solid, and it is a good controller. Now you go to the Xbox One, and their controller is a huge improvement on the 360. Not only does it fit my hands better and it's more comfortable, but the triggers each have their own little vibration motor inside of them. So when you're playing games like Forza 5, you can actually feel a lock up on the wheels and you can feel wheel spin in the triggers. And it actually makes you a much better player. The other thing I noticed was the little hats on the controller. The Xbox One hat, I feel like I can move with much more precision, like very slowly, than I can with the PlayStation 4 controller. They're close, but it just feels like there's more precision in the Xbox One controller. Just the way the spring feels and the way it feels when it pops the center just feels a little bit better. But overall, both are a huge improvement on their previous generations, and I like them both a lot. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that it comes down to is what types of games do you play? Because depending on the games you play, that's going to be the console you're going to gravitate to. And if you like to play games that are exclusive to each console, then you need both consoles. You just do. So, my final opinion on this, guys, is realistically, the reason why I own all of these consoles is because I need to own all these consoles. They all serve a purpose in my life. I love my PC. I primarily game on my PC. I am all for the whole hashtag PC Master Race. I think it's great. But to compare it to consoles and say, you should go out and build a PC for gaming because instead of getting a console, yeah, if you got all the money in the world, knock yourself out. I mean, my system down here, I spent $10,000 on it plus another $3,000 on displays. Sure, if you got $13,000, go build like a crazy water-cooled multi-GPU rig and then work out all the kinks and the bugs in the software and configuration and registry editing and modifying your shortcuts and changing your background applications to get a smooth gaming experience. But if you're the type of person who just wants to sit down and game with your friends, and it's just something that you just want to like do at 1 o'clock in the morning, like laying in bed or sitting on your couch, consoles are fantastic for that experience. I constantly hear about people talking about upscaling too, like, oh, it runs native 1080p on PlayStation 4, but it runs 720p on Xbox One. But there's still benefits. If you play in 720p on Xbox One, the frame rate actually seems smoother in some of the games like Call of Duty. The frame rate doesn't seem nearly as smooth at 1080p on the PlayStation 4. It's just, those are the choices they made to run it out on the console. Not all the games are like that. Everybody has this common misconception that everything on Xbox One is upscaled to 1080p. No, that's just simply not true. A lot of things run 1080p native on the Xbox One. But it depends on the game, how the game utilizes the hardware, and what its capabilities are that depend. You may even find games in the future that are only 720p on PlayStation 4 and 1080p on Xbox One. It just depends on how the hardware was utilized, guys. So anyways, I was bored today. I wanted to give you guys my opinion on this because I've been watching a lot of videos flipping through on this topic and stuff, and I hope that it actually gives you some insights. And again, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions down below on what you think about what I think about these consoles and the PC. And, don't sugarcoat it. This is just my opinion, and I expect everybody else to have their own. But I just wanted to offer mine up to you guys. I hope you guys got a kick out of this video. Am I right? Until next time, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, favorite, and subscribe. It helps me a bunch. Also, come follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I love interacting with you guys.